Hey everyone, ready to dive into something thought-provoking? We're tackling poor economics today with Abhijit Banerjee and Esther Duflo.
It's a fascinating read, it really is. They go way beyond those stereotypical images of poverty
Yeah, forget those.
and dig into how people actually navigate life on a shoestring budget. Less than $1 a day, can you imagine?
It's mind-blowing, honestly. And one thing that really stuck with me was this whole calorie puzzle they talk about.
Oh, right.
Like, you'd think if you were living on just a couple of bucks a day, food would be the top priority,
Right.
right? Every penny would go to that.
Right, seems logical.
But then they hit you with the data and it's like, whoa, didn't see that coming.
It's completely counterintuitive. They found that even in extreme poverty, people prioritize things like having a TV.
A TV?
Yeah, or going to festivals.
You're kidding?
Or even, and this one surprised me, choosing tastier food over just getting more calories.
So it's not just about basic survival then.
Exactly. There's this inherent human need for more than just, not starving. Dignity, joy, a life with meaning, even amidst incredible hardship.
I remember that story from the book, The Family in Morocco, who said having a TV mattered more than extra food.
It challenges our whole perspective, right? Like what we consider essential is so shaped by our own context.
Totally. So if it's not just about calories, what's the explanation for this whole calorie puzzle then?
Well, they have a few theories. One is that as public health improves, think sanitation and stuff, people might actually need fewer calories to function.
So healthier living means naturally adjusting food intake. Interesting.
Right. Then there's the idea that maybe it's about maximizing enjoyment with what you have. Limited resources, you might go for a little bit of something delicious instead of a lot of something bland.
Quality over quantity makes sense.
And this focus on understanding how people make decisions, it's essential, especially when you look at healthcare.
Because it's easy to assume, oh, they'd go to the doctor more if they actually cared about their health.
And Banerjee and Duflo totally dismantle that assumption. They found people hesitate to use free or cheap healthcare because they associate it with poor quality.
Makes you think of that saying, you get what you pay for, even for health.
Right. Plus, there's that human tendency, we all do it, prioritizing immediate needs over those long-term benefits, even for health.
Oh, tell me about it. I keep putting off going to the dentist. Not that I don't care about my teeth, but Netflix isn't going to watch itself.
And it gets even more complex when you factor in access to reliable information, right? Or if there's historical mistrust in healthcare providers.
It's like a whole web of factors to untangle. So how do we get people to actually embrace healthier behaviors? What's the magic formula?
No magic, unfortunately, but some fascinating insights from Banerjee and Duflo. Like, they found that integrating deworming medication into existing immunization programs, that was surprisingly effective.
Makes sense. Parents were already there for vaccines. Might as well add to it.
Exactly. They also found that even small incentives, like a bag of lentils, could significantly increase immunization rates.
Wow. A little nudge can go a long way.
It's about understanding people's motivations, what they're dealing with, the whole context, which, speaking of context, leads us to education. And this is where poor economics really flips the script on what we think we know about education in developing countries.
Yeah, it's not as simple as just building more schools and calling it a day, is it?
Nope, not at all. They talk about this idea of, if you build it, they will come, Doesn't really work that way.
Right. Just increasing the supply of schools doesn't mean there's automatically a demand for them.
Exactly. Banerjee and Duflo really hammer home that point. Income, sure, it's a huge factor.
Of course.
But it's not the only thing influencing whether parents send their kids to school. Aspirations come into play, beliefs about the value of education.
Right. Like, is it even worth it in their eyes?
And then there are these deeply ingrained cultural norms that are tough to shift.
It's way more nuanced than just assuming everyone sees education the same way we do in, say, a developed country.
Absolutely. Remember Pak Sudarno's story from the book, the Indonesian father who sent his son to secondary school.
Yeah, huge financial risk for that family.
And they did it based on their hopes for him, right?
Yeah.
Wanted a different life for their son, one with more security.
Yeah, it was really powerful.
And they even talk about how in some cultures, having a bunch of kids is like its own form of social security.
More kids, better chance one makes it big and supports you later.
Exactly. Like diversifying your portfolio. But with children, adds a whole other layer to investing in your kid's future.
For sure. But even if a family believes in education, what about the quality of it? I mean, even if kids go to school, does it even matter if the education itself isn't good?
That's the million-dollar question, and Banerjee and Duflo don't shy away from it. They talk about teacher absenteeism being a chronic issue in some places.
Yeah, like what's the point of having a school if the teachers aren't even there?
And it's not just about blaming teachers either. It's about the whole system, right? Low pay, lack of resources. Sometimes these schools are just really remote.
Right, makes you realize it's a much bigger problem.
It is. But the good news is the book offers solutions, too. They talk about Pratham in India.
Oh yeah, the NGO doing amazing work with primary education.
That's the one. They focus on basic literacy, numeracy skills, using local volunteers as teachers.
And they've had some really impressive results, right? Helping kids who weren't doing well in those traditional schools.
It's a testament to the power of adapting to local needs instead of just forcing a one-size-fits-all approach.
Absolutely. So from education, let's shift gears a bit and talk about microfinance.
Ah, yes, microfinance. For a while, it was seen as the solution to poverty.
The magic bullet, lift yourself up by your bootstraps kind of thing.
Exactly. But like with most things, it's more complicated than that.
And Banerjee and Duflo really get into those complexities.
Yeah.
Like why it hasn't had the massive impact everyone hoped for.
Yeah, it's not as easy as handing out loans and watching everyone prosper.
So what's the catch?
Well, for one, not everyone wants to be an entrepreneur. They might be content with what they're doing.
Makes sense. It's not for everyone.
And even for those who do want to start businesses, those rigid repayment schedules,
They can be tough, I imagine.
they can discourage risk-taking, you know? If you're always worried about making those payments.
You're not going to try something new and risky, even if it could pay off big time.
Exactly. It can trap people in this cycle of low-risk, low-reward activities.
And the book even mentions people using those loans for basic needs instead of business investments.
Right. Food, healthcare, emergencies. It highlights that even well-intentioned solutions
Can backfire if you don't understand the full context.
Exactly. So microfinance, it's a tool. It has its place, but it's not a cure-all.
It's about tackling those root causes of poverty, not just the symptoms.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And that brings us to a huge theme in the book, institutions.
Because it's more than just the lack of money, isn't it? It's this whole other level of stress and uncertainty they live with every day.
It really is. Banerjee and Duflo actually argue that this feeling of powerlessness can be just as damaging as the poverty itself.
It makes sense, though, right? When you think about the constant risks they face.
Yeah.
Illness, job loss, even just the weather turning bad.
And very little ability to cushion those blows, right? Like one bad harvest could wipe out their income for a whole year.
It's like they're always walking a tightrope.
Exactly. And imagine the toll that takes on you mentally, emotionally, always feeling like you're one step away from disaster.
It reminds me of that story about Ibu Tina in the book.
The businesswoman in Indonesia?
Yeah, she was doing okay, had her own business and everything. Then bam, she gets hit with a theft and then a bounce check, just like that.
Just when she was starting to get ahead.
And that's what's so scary, right? Even when people are working hard, one unexpected event can throw them right back into poverty.
It really highlights that vulnerability.
Yeah.
And this constant pressure, it can really affect how people make decisions too, you know?
Totally. If you're in survival mode all the time, you're going to be much more cautious, less willing to take risks.
Exactly. Even if those risks could lead to bigger rewards in the long run.
It's like that example in the book with the farmers in India.
The ones who wouldn't plant the new seeds.
Yeah, the seeds could have meant a much bigger harvest, but what if the rains failed? They just couldn't risk it.
They had too much to lose. And it's the same with education, starting a business, even healthcare decisions. That fear of risk can really hold people back.
So how do we break that cycle? How do you encourage people to take those chances when they're already living on the edge?
Well, Banerjee and Duflo talk about the need for better safety nets. Things like microinsurance, tailored to the specific risks people face.
So like insurance for farmers in case of a bad harvest, or health insurance that covers major illnesses.
Exactly. But even with those solutions, there are still hurdles to overcome. Trust is a big one. A lot of people might not understand how insurance works, or they might be wary of these institutions.
Right, especially if they've been let down before.
And then there's the design of the products themselves. They need to be affordable, easy to understand, and actually meet the needs of the people they're meant to help.
It all comes back to understanding the people, their lives, their perspectives.
100%. And that's what I love about poor economics. It's not about these top-down solutions. It's about listening, learning, and working together to find solutions that really work.
It's a message of hope, really. Hope that we can create a world where everyone has the chance to not just survive, but truly thrive.
Absolutely. And on that note, I think it's time we wrap up our deep dive into poor economics.
This book has given me a lot to chew on, that's for sure. And I hope it's done the same for you. It's a reminder that fighting poverty is about more than just economics. It's about understanding the human experience in all its messy, complex glory.
And approaching it with empathy, humility, and a willingness to learn from those who know it best, the people living it every day.
It's about challenging our assumptions, being open to new ideas, and believing that change is possible.
So as you go about your day, take a moment to think about what you've learned today. How can you use this knowledge to make a difference? Even small actions can have a ripple effect.
Thanks for joining us on this journey into the world of poor economics. Until next time, keep learning, keep questioning, and keep fighting for a more just and equitable world.